metaphors.
A Twilight Book Club. I'm Sarah, and I am joined by my two friends. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Keiki.
And we are here to finally talk about Midnight Sun.
I looked at a camera. I don't know if I looked at my camera. That's how this show is going to go.
That's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're just there, and we're just like, hi.
Hi. Oh, God, yeah. Midnight Sun. We have news first, though.
We do. So before we jump in it, is our news the same? Can we talk about the Batman trailer?
Yes, we can.
Because it is Rob Pattinson. Y'all, everyone's trying to come for him, being like, the sparkle guy from Twilight.
Are you eating your words now?
Yes, they are. So I am a lifelong Batman super fan. Like, my older brother and I are just like Batman lore to the core. Like,
he's the best superhero.
Oh, yeah. You could ask us like any bit of Batman trivia and we'll fucking answer it. Like, we fucking love Batman so much. So much. We've run people off the internet arguing with them about Batman, like legitimately.
Why does that not surprise me?
Right?
That's just surprise me either, but I'm just so proud.
So he asked me immediately. He was like, "Have you seen it? What do you think?" And I told him, as somebody who's like my real job and my fake job are both steeped in pop culture, yes, I should probably have a more critical opinion. But you got Nirvana song,
hey,
you got Batman,
aye,
and you got Robert Pattinson. The hype is real. Hype.
When he popped out and he was like, "I'm vengeance," and he doesn't do like a terrible voice.
I'm vengeance.
His voice was so good. And this is one of my number one complaints about Christian Bale. I hated his Batman voice. Mm-hmm. So, and like, I love Kevin Conroy. Like, I've met him in person and like cried when I met him. And then Andy Biersack is voicing Batman, which I'm super excited about. So like, the voice is really important to me. Mm-hmm. And when he talked, finally, I was like, Rob has fucking nailed the voice.
Leveled up.
He leveled up. You can't hear any trace of his accent. It's like deep and gravelly without being, where's the trigger?
Yeah.
Tell me where it is.
He is beating ass like Batman. We hear those bones crack. And I'm like, yes, this is my thing. This is what I want.
Everybody keeps laughing about the emo, quote unquote, eyeliner.
I'm here for
it. Number one, Robert Pattinson looks damn good in it.
Yo,
so good.
Flood my basement.
My good basement. I know. You ruined my good basement.
I had everything set up.
It did things to my undercarriage.
But also, just from a technical standpoint, every movie has ignored the fact that Batman has to put grease paint on so you can't see his skin.
Yes.
And then put his cowl on. If you take your cowl off, your grease paint doesn't go away.
Anyone who has done theater or has done a Halloween cosplay or worked at a Halloween event knows that grease paint does not come off easy. So at the end of your fighting night, that's who you are now.
That's who you are.
And it seeps into your pores. I just want to know how he gets it all the way off because I still can't. But I'm here for it. I'm really excited. And I know, like, the biggest complaint I've seen is, like, I don't know how he's going to play Bruce. I'm like, have you not seen Rob Pattinson clean up?
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
But also Daddy in a suit?
This Bruce,
Daddy with money?
This Bruce is more depressed.
Yeah, which is how Bruce should be.
So,
listen, Bruce Wayne's fucking parents got murked in front of him. He spends his whole life traumatized. Alfred didn't think to get him a goddamn therapist, so he decides to go in a cave and become Batman.
Exactly.
Of course he's emo AF. Come on, y'all.
I know. So now he's like super depressed, but like if they want to go the cleaned up a little bit like happier version, he can do that.
Right?
Have you seen him?
Get you a man
He's
that can
played
do
a
both.
billionaire before. Hello, Edward Cullen.
In his khakis and pullover. Okay.
Honestly, y'all, he drives a Vanquish. We need to be quiet.
The biggest complaint that I have about the trailer has nothing to do with Robert Pattinson at all. It's all the makeup they put on Colin Farrell. Like,
he was unrecognizable.
Just give me a sexy penguin, y'all. Penguin don't have to be fat and weird. And like the TV show Gotham has explored that. Yeah. Because the penguin in the Gotham series was a very skinny, like lank man. Mm-hmm. And it really, like bird-like features. It just really, that. And don't get me wrong, Gotham had its issues as a television show and as a piece of Batman lore. Mm-hmm. But the penguin, you know, that totally worked in there. So you could give me a skinny, lanky penguin. I don't need Colin Farrell made up to look like Richard Kind.
I mean, I'm kind of interested, though, to see if they go into a reason why he looks like that.
Yes.
And I just need, like,
I'm not going to judge it yet.
I mean, y'all, Colin Farrell's exploded. I mean, if you see him, like, how he looks now compared to what we're used to, it ain't no, like, 300 situation.
No, man's is still sexy. Like, haven't you seen Fantastic Beasts? I was so mad when they revealed that it was Johnny Depp and not Colin Farrell. Because I was like, oh, he's not going to be in the rest of the movies?
Yeah.
I was here for him.
Did you see Fright Night?
I was upset.
Did you see him in Fright Night? I would no. Girl, you need to watch it. They redid Fright Night, and Colin Farrell plays the vampire, and he's literally
Do I need to clean my basement first?
Just leave it dirty because it's coming for you again. He just like leans on a door frame. You know, the hot guy lean and looking at this boy because it's his meal. But
we all know that I'm here for a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Damn, we sound thirsty. We sound thirsty, don't we?
Y'all need to watch it. It's real good.
Anyway, if we are, cheers.
And the other thing that and one of my friends and I were talking about this because she was saying how upset she was that Zoe Kravitz wasn't in more of the trailer and how we didn't get a feel for her is that they've only filmed 25 to 30% of this movie before they got shut down because of COVID. So really, they haven't filmed any of this movie. The whole thing could change. I hope it doesn't. I hope that they see how great the fan reaction was to the trailer they cut together and they keep on whatever path it is that they're going down. But like
someone else I'm really excited about is Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Everything he touches is gold.
Gold. He is such an underrated actor. He can take the most ridiculous things. Like if you've never seen Swiss Army Man, somehow he took that absurd ridiculousness and made it enjoyable and like fantastic to watch.
And that's why I think he's such a great choice for the Riddler because don't get me wrong, I love Batman Forever. It has a very special place in my heart. I could probably quote that movie front to back. However, it was a very, even from when they announced that Jim Carrey was cast as the Riddler, we knew that we were getting something very tonally different from the Tim Burton films.
100%.
So it was very, fun and kooky and crazy and more like the TV show. And it's great. It was great for what it was. However, I am so excited to see a very a
dark
Sherlock Holmesian type Riddler, like somebody who's actually making mysteries.
Yes.
Because to get super into Batman, one of the things that I feel like Batman films have been missing or that the police are so good at their jobs, there's not really a reason for Batman. He's just kind of this guy who comes and punches people and why is he here? I like what it seems like they're doing with this movie where Riddler's going to be he's creating crimes and mysteries that the police just can't keep up with. And that's why they need somebody auxiliary. That's why they need a Batman.
That's cool. That's something I didn't know because all the Batman stuff that I know about, which isn't a lot, they just seem like a typical police department or kind of bumbling idiots who do their best, but they're not that great.
We only solve 2% of crimes.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. But I feel like it's just it's a little bit lazy. So fair. I'm excited to see this kind of Sherlock Holmesian.
That's awesome.
We need somebody extra. We need somebody smarter than us.
And I like that this Batman's going to be 2 years into Batman. It's not an origin story like we've gotten, and I think Rob is going to kill it.
So tired of origin stories in general, but that's a whole nother video.
I was watching.
We don't need it.
I was just watching a movie Melee review, and Art was like, if I see another Kent family getting iced, I'm going to throw a fit. And I was like, yes.
I feel about fucking Uncle Ben, and that's one of the reasons that I love Spider-Man with,
Tom Holland.
My sweet boy, yes, Tom Holland. Not only because Tom Holland is just my sweet little boy, he's just want to give him hugs and buy him Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have to fucking see Uncle Ben die again.
Exactly.
I don't need to see it. I've seen it 9 million times.
We already know.
We're
good. We're all good.
We get it.
We know what happens.
In conclusion, for The Batman, you're welcome. Eat your words. Rob Pattinson is going to be awesome. Any other news that you guys have that I might have missed?
That was it. That
was it.
News. That's all I can think about.
All right, guys. So let's get into Midnight Sun.
Ooh.
So we decided we're going to break this up into 4 parts. And for this first part, we read chapters 1 through 7, which covers a lot of really big story point ground, I feel.
Yes.
We've got the first time Edward smells Bella, the van accident, Edward sneaking into her room, the DNA day at school, Edward writing the lullaby, ending with Peter and Charlotte coming to visit, which we actually didn't get in Twilight. So this is all going to be new, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
With chapter 1, I love the way Edward describes high school because it's exactly how I describe high school.
Well, it was very interesting to me. I tried my best to read nothing about Midnight Sun, not hear anything. If people wanted to talk to me about it, I was like, do not open your mouth yet. I'm doing this podcast. I have to wait till we read it together. And so I was very interested that this version started with the lunchroom scene, which I guess makes the most sense.
Yeah, jump ahead. We don't need to see them getting ready to go to school.
Yeah, we don't need any
anything.
of that. Yeah,
all the previous stuff was Bella's backstory anyway, so it's good to just start where it starts.
Yeah,
we're already there, sitting, eating lunch, and I also just like the way that Edward drags his family.
Oh my god. Jasper can't be a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And Jasper's just so tortured. He's so tortured.
Poor baby.
Poor baby.
I knew, but I didn't know.
Right? But Emmett is just as dumb as we thought he was.
Just as
Just as dumb.
Listen,
and Rosalie's just as vapid.
We've been saying since our very first episode that Emmett was the MVP of this series, and it holds true.
Can I
Still the same.
if we were to get a Twilight book from Emmett's point of view,
That's
it would
all I
just be a
want.
comedy, and I'd be here for it.
fucking hysterical.
It'd be like, bro, bears, yum.
Oh my god, I
If we
love
got
it.
Twilight from Emmett's point of view, it would have to be like
Yeah.
Paul Rudd and not Jason Sudeikis. Who's the one I'm thinking of? Oh God, he was in Knocked Up. Oh Jesus.
Oh, Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen. I don't know why I would call him Jason, but yeah, no. It would have to be like Seth Rogen and like Paul Rudd buddy comedy.
I need like a Dave Franco. I need a guy to walk in and be like, bet. You know, like, I think you're like really cool. And
I mean,
like,
Dave Franco did audition for Edward. So.
And I will
Oh
say
my
that
gosh.
like I keep like our fan cast in my head as I'm reading,
Yeah.
so all I see is Noah Centineo in
Yes,
my head.
did you see? People argue with me about it being Noah, and I'm like, do you
such a good job.
What? Noah Centineo being like, fucking bears, man. Like, that's all I can think about.
Oh God, their hunting scene. Ugh.
You like her, bro, don't
Right?
you?
You like her.
You like her.
Yeah, and it's like I think my favorite thing he says about Emmett. He's like, hearing Emmett's thoughts never felt intrusive because he never thought one thing that he wouldn't say aloud. And I'm like, yeah,
I love people like that.
he's uncensored and
Yeah.
goofy AF.
I am those people.
And Rosalie's mind was a stagnant pool. It's like,
Which I feel like it calls back to
As
the joke
shallow
that,
as a puddle.
I know. It's like
But it
Emmett's was
calls
a lake
back
with
to
no
the-
shadows.
Damn. It calls back to the joke that Jacob tells in Breaking Dawn where he's like, how do you drown a blonde?
Yeah, he's like, put a sticker at the bottom of a pool. I was like, dang. I also really like that Edward and Alice have like twin convos. You know what I mean? They have their own secret language.
That was my
Secret
next note.
language.
That Edward and Alice are just adorable.
They're
just so precious.
cute. I'm like, look at y'all with your
And
secret
then, like,
language.
it annoys people. They're like,
Yeah.
Emmett's like, I hate when you guys do that. Like, they're just having these conversations.
like-
It was, and I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get more into this later, but the entire interactions of the Cullen family are so adorable in Midnight Sun so far. Like,
Yeah.
just precious. It's a little bit thick, like it was in Breaking Dawn, where you get reactions from every single
person.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know how they all smiled. This one smiled wryly. This one smiled smugly. This one smiled happily.
I made a
don't
note about that. I was like, why?
Why does she do this?
need that.
I don't care.
But their interactions are lovely, and you really do get the sense that they're a family, and
Yes,
that part was
they
beautiful.
they are brothers and sisters, and it's very like it holds true to anyone who has
Yes.
siblings. You totally get it.
It very much
100%.
reminded me of my siblings and I.
Yeah. I feel like this opening scene also answered a lot of questions we kind of had for the later books.
Yeah.
Like we know that Jasper is, like we said, Jasper is constantly struggling. This poor, like precious baby angel. And it makes more sense why he's so upset about Bella being fine later.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing this for a few decades and he still has such a hard time compared to the rest of
Yeah.
them. And he's like, this bitch.
She just,
Yeah.
it's so easy for
Just
her.
wait till you're a newborn. It's gonna be a fucking disaster.
And that's what
she's
she's
like. I'm fine.
It's like Jasper was waiting to no longer be the fuck up.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know,
and,
and that just didn't happen.
to me, it's like another family dynamic where, like, if you're one of the older siblings and you had like a hard time in a particular class,
Yeah.
and your parents keep getting on you, and then you're like, just wait till you have, fucking algebra 2.
Yeah.
And then your
And then
sibling gets there and they just ace algebra 2, and you're like,
I
oh.
hate
I
you. Did anybody know that Edward had 2 medical degrees?
That was one of my notes. What? He has
No.
2 medical degrees?
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
I was like, what?
No wonder this guy was so great at biology. He's got 2 medical degrees.
Exactly. Clearly, he's already
Pro-phase.
taken OChem, so like,
Right.
of course this
Which,
is easy.
like, I don't know. Why are you getting 2 of them, Edward? You could just major in music theory or some other shit the second time. You gotta show off. Also, can we just talk about what a bitch Jessica is?
Oh my god!
Oh my God. She's
I
the
told you she
worst.
was a bitch,
She's
and that
the
Anna Kendrick
worst.
wasn't a good casting for her because Jessica seemed like a bitch to me. And then hearing her thoughts in this book, I'm like,
She a bitch.
She a bitch.
She's a bitch. You know who I'm picturing now? The girl who played Penelope in Gossip Girl. I don't know what her real name is.
Penelope and Gossip Girl. Hold on.
Yeah, I have to. Let me see if I can look it up.
I'm
So
I
Googling.
didn't even try to picture
That's
her.
why I got the laptop.
I think I put like some
the internet's out. I can't do it.
some bitch from like high
Amanda
school.
Setton is her name, and she was in Gossip Girl, and she was also in Mindy Project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like she just kind of has the face of like a bitch, and she's played a lot of bitches. So like,
Did you
No,
ever
that
watch
makes
like
sense.
Awkward?
oh yeah.
You know the girl who's like, thanks. whatever their popular girl is.
Yeah, I can't think of her name, but
like Jessica was that girl.
Yeah, she's a frenemy. She's definitely a frenemy.
And it makes Edward feel so like, I need to protect her.
I know.
And you're like, what?
Like, why not talk to her? She's such a fucking bitch.
But on the flip side, can we just protect Angela at all costs?
At all costs. But haven't we all been in that friendship where like your boyfriend is kind of like, I don't like your friend, and you're like, but they're my friend though, and he's like, no, they ain't.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
We all have that one friend who like probably would never think anything malicious about us, and then we have like the friend who's like, I don't even know if you're really my friend. You might be my friend because.
Right. But Angela's just a sweet baby angel.
She is. She's amazing. And like maybe she and Leah can date later. Like,
right?
Can that be a thing?
Can that be a thing? Can we get that book instead of Renesmee and Jacob?
Yeah, it's so terrible. Y'all, Jordan's video about what books are better options than a Jacob Renesmee book is out on Smells Like Teen Angst. So go check that out.
Edward wants to murder everyone.
Everybody.
He's gonna kill everybody.
I read this before, so it was great rereading it 10 years later.
I also love that just to back up before he wants to murder everybody. I like that he's like, I can't read her mind. That's weird. And now he thinks his power is going away.
I think it's different this time too, and it's not. Let me tell you, I read the leaked chapters one time.
It is different.
7 years ago, 10 years ago. So I don't really remember them, but I do think there are differences. It's more fleshed out.
Yes, there are a few. Yeah.
I'm not going to do a word for word comparison, but it's different.
If someone would like to do that and send it to us, please
just
do.
Tell us what was different.
SmellsLikeTeenAngstMail@gmail.com.
But yeah, Edward can't hear. He hears everybody else at lunch talking about this girl.
Yeah, and he's like, but why can't I hear her?
He just has to like try and zero in, and in my head, I just imagine him like squinting, like
kind of like Rob does in the movie. Yeah. He's like, what the deuce?
Or just like thinking like, this girl must be so dumb. She's not even listening. Like,
yeah, well, he's like, maybe she doesn't have any thoughts. And that's why he listens to everyone else. He's like, no, she's talking. She has to have thought.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe my powers are going away. I got to talk to Carlisle about that later because that's weird.
That's weird, but whatever.
And then we get to the moment that Jordan talked about Edward wanting to murder everyone.
Everybody.
The moment when Bella walks in front of the fan and Edward smells her for the first time.
All I can think about is the tweet that went viral where it's the screen cap of him, of Rob just making that terrible that face. Where he's like, oh, and he's going to throw up.
And
she's smelling herself.
I like highlighted this because he was like, there is no image violent enough to encompass the force of what happened to me in that moment. Yeah. And as someone with a very sensitive nose, I've walked into rooms where I'm like, it smells like reheated Chinese food and ass, and it's coming from that person in the corner. Like, Edward Boo Boo, I feel you. Like, oh my God, I felt him.
Yeah, and like according to him, she has the sweetest blood he's ever tasted in his 80 years. And I'm just I
keep trying to think of something analogous to me, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah, like what's the one thing I would smell that I can't resist? I don't know.
Like, is it like walking into a cheesecake factory? Like, I don't know.
Like an ice cream shop with fresh waffle cones.
Right. Mm. Or have you been to Catalina, where that shop where they make the saltwater taffy?
The taffy shop.
Like, I don't know what is it Disneyland, like Main Street, like those smells? Like that churro smell? I can
like
get
the churro smell, the corn dog smell.
I mean, I don't really deny myself anything, so
Cinnabon. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like a combo of like Cinnabon or like the water from Pirates of the Caribbean. Like Disney, I think Disney smells are as close as I'm getting to some smell. It smells irresistible. Yeah.
The best smells that you ever smell.
Yeah.
In the parks. I don't know. I can't even imagine. I can't equate it. But I like that he says like, I mapped it out of my head. It would take me 5 seconds to end every life in this room. And he's like, where's Alice, though? Because if I was going to do this, Alice would be here.
Mm-hmm. A clean man who is also wearing like Opium by Yves Saint Laurent. Maybe that's as close as it gets.
That's your scent.
I know.
I don't know. But yeah, no, if he was going to murder everybody, Alice would be here. So maybe I shouldn't murder everybody because Alice is not here.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that kid, and I want to know who it is. We'll never know. Whoever had the file folder that woofed it closed really hard saved every single person in that room. And they will never know what a hero they are.
He's going to go on and live his life and become an accountant or something, and he never know.
He just saved his own life. Yeah. Edward was like, and that took me out of my trance.
Yeah.
Like that's what snapped him out. And I'm just like, whoa. Just like a fresh breath of fresh air. I don't know.
I really was thinking, though, when I saw that, wouldn't it be funny if it was like a fart, though?
like a really stink, like
this kid ripped one.
Yeah, he's like, who farted?
Who farted?
Who did this? Who was that?
Ooh,
That's
what was that?
nasty. It smells like grass and ass. What kind of calming music do you think Edward listens to? Is it just like Debussy? Is it only classical?
I think it is because first of all, and you said Debussy, which is the right way to say it, but every time I
took
read
a
about
guess.
it, I'm pretty sure that's the right way to say it. But every time I think about it, I think about Debussy. He was with that bussy.
The bussy.
I don't know.
If you don't know what a bussy is, please look it up.
Stupid.
You have to Google, you have to go to Twitter and look at what bussy means.
Yeah.
Don't Google it. Go to Twitter.
Go to Twitter. Excuse me, sir.
No, I don't know.
The bussy calms me down. Sorry, I couldn't even get that joke out. Oh God. All right, sorry.
It's okay.
Edward's calming music. This is me. I would be like explosions in the sky. Like that makes me feel really chill and zen. So like, and Edward's got quote unquote good taste in music.
Right.
He's got a wall of CDs. So like, yeah, it's explosions in the sky.
Maybe he's just like listening to Pink Floyd to getting weird. You know, like
like a 25-minute. He's listening to Fish.
Yeah.
He's listening to a 25-minute Fish song.
Yeah.
He's listening to a Dave Matthews Band jam. A live Dave Matthews Band jam.
Falling into you. Just like,
please don't ruin it.
He's listening to Satellite by Dave Matthews.
Please don't ruin it for me. I forgot to say though, I like that he was also like imagining ways that were outside of the classroom. He was like,
sneak home.
What if I sneak home to her home, or like if I go to the car and then like I could just like there's a little piece of forest and I could just escape and drag her. And I'm like, oh my God, To Catch a Predator. Like what is wrong with you, Edward?
His ways, man. I'm here for it.
Okay, but also off topic joke story. One time I was flying to San Jose, which from LA is like an hour and a half flight, so it isn't even that long. And I had tried to download some music, but the only song that was saved to my phone, which I had to put in airplane mode, was Satellite by Dave Matthews Band. And I was already drunk AF because I had been at the airport bar, so I straight up did listen to Satellite by Dave Matthews Band on loop for like an hour and a half.
Stupid.
I was like, whatever.
Wow.
I'm drunk anyway. I'll never remember this flight.
I'm
It doesn't
looking at
matter.
you different now.
That's amazing.
Like, why is
My
it even
friend came
on
to-
your phone?
My friend came up to pick me up from the airport and she's like, do you want to get this party started? And I was like, this party started back at LAX like 7 drinks ago.
Yeah.
You got to catch up.
But Dave Matthews Band, like, why was it even on your?
Sometimes I'd be liking some Dave Matthews Band, okay?
It happens
I'm kind
to
of an
some
old
people.
white lady.
Okay, back to the car.
Back to the car and Edward trying to kill everybody.
Yeah, like I love that Edward gets really mad at Alice. He's like, how could you like not show me? Am I gonna murder her? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then as they're driving home, Alice is trying to keep the vision from showing.
Yeah.
But it does happen. She's like, she dead. You've got red eyes.
Well,
and
also, pause, backing up, he does try to get his classes changed. That
Yeah,
happens
he
in between.
does. He does
So
do
he tries
that
to
too.
kill everybody, then he tries to go get his classes changed. And again, he's like, smooth talking Mrs. Cope. He's having his whole moment.
Yeah.
The
just
part where
like,
Mrs.
damn.
Cope is low-key a predator is still in the book.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
Which, you know what? I'm not mad at that, only because some people who work at schools are younger, and also some young kids can be very charming. You're like, go away. No, you're young. Oh, God, that's gross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, haven't you ever been driving and seen like a hot young person and been like,
Oh,
In
I've been
5
at,
years.
in 5 years.
I've been at concerts and I've been like, are you? You're probably not. You're just tall for your age.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away now.
Like, just imagine that. Like, I've had, like, younger kids I've done theater with that are incredibly charming and try to hit on you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, but you're 12.
But you're 12 going. So he tries to get his classes changed, and it's going well until the second that Bella walks in. And then he smells her again, and he's like, I give up. I'm out.
I'm out.
Bye.
Run away. I'm
Gotta
running
go.
away to Alaska.
Gotta go.
And it's like, he's like, bitch, I will kill you. Stay away from me.
And Alice sees him killing Bella.
And so, and chapter 1 ends with us not knowing Edward's choice is if he is going to kill her or leave or both.
And as I was reading this, I started reading and I realized that I didn't have enough time that night to keep reading. So I literally did stop at chapter 1 and I was like, oh, this is a good cliffhanger for tomorrow.
Right. You're like, oh, yay.
Yay.
It is. I thought that was a really great cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, even though we know he doesn't kill her,
It was still
it's
nice.
still
It's a
great
nice
because
chapter
it's
break.
kind of like, he doesn't even know. I'm like, well,
There are really good writing techniques that Stephenie Meyer employed to keep you interested in this book because
Absolutely.
in theory, you know what happens. And so
You've heard the story.
There are ways where it could not have been a good read or it could not have been interesting or entertaining or fun. And she definitely employed certain techniques to make it a fun read.
Absolutely.
And that's one of them.
I agree. Chapter 2 is brand new. This is Edward in Alaska with the Denali clan. And you got super thirsty Tanya.
Tanya's Rosalie 2.0. She just thinks she's so fine. She's so thirsty.
Good. But he let her down so nicely.
She comes up to him in the snow wearing a cami and cutoffs.
Yeah.
She's just Daisy Duke.
And she's like, hey.
Out in the Alaskan forest.
Like a snow bunny. No bra.
Girl.
But I
get it together.
I do like that this chapter starts where we don't know what his choice was. Like, it doesn't say if he killed her or not. We don't know, like, if he just chose to leave. And I was like, for someone that maybe would read them out of order, I think that's really cool. And I would actually say, I think if you want to be a brand new Twilight reader, actually read this one first. In a weird way.
I think I might agree with that. I want to wait till we get to the end.
But at this point in time.
At this point, read Midnight Sun first.
Because it's a little bit more like, I don't know.
It's a little bit more shocking. It's a little bit more, it's just more interesting, honestly.
It's very like murder mystery.
Yeah. Yes. Edward's point of view is very interesting. I'm not going to lie.
And very dark.
Yes.
I thought that, with the Denali girls, like they have decided that the men that they love will live with, they turn all the men that they love. Do you feel like that was maybe foreshadowing into Edward and Bella?
Now that you bring it up, yes. I didn't have that thought at the time.
No, I didn't either.
I just thought they were thirsty hoes in both senses of the word, that they were thirsty because they wanted to get down and then thirsty because they wanted to drink blood.
For sure. But like they specifically say, like with the Denali women, whomever they love, they turn and keep around. So I don't know.
I read it as they either turn them or they kill
them. It's one or the other, right? Which is where he's at. So I just thought that was like foreshadowing, maybe to like the other, like later in the book when he doesn't choose to kill her.
Good point. Good thinking.
Look at that! I thought of something fun.
I did not even think of that.
You're reading this critically. The rest of us are just here.
I'm doing both, guys. Whenever I have a thought, I write it down. In the end, Edward decides to take Tanya's advice, attack his issue head on, and head back to Forks. Huzzah!
Before he lets her down, though.
Oh yeah, he does let her down very nicely.
So great.
He's such a gentleman. He is so concerned with being gentlemanly, and like that's his own word. Like I have to be a gentleman about all the things.
Yeah, but I highlighted what he said because if someone let me down like this, I'd be like, okay. He said, "You're 1,000 times lovelier than the stars, Tanya. Of course, you're already well aware of that. Don't let my stubbornness undermine your confidence."
I feel like that's such a fuckboy excuse. I would be
it really is. I feel like I've heard that.
I would not be okay with that. Like, you think I'm great, but you don't like me?
Yeah. He's basically saying like you're super hot and you can do better in the nicest way possible.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had fuckboys who be like, "You're just too good for me.
You're too good for me." Like, yeah, no
but really,
shit.
I know I am. I'm like a sack of
garbage,
but fine, whatever.
Yeah. We are back at school, and like Stephenie Meyer does this thing where she doesn't do. She could do more chapters if she chose to, but instead, I don't know if there's a technique to it, but it's like the spacing on the pages.
Yeah, it's just a break.
Yeah, and she does that multiple times to change subjects multiple times in one chapter, and I found that to be interesting.
I think it's more of a scene break than it is like a thought break.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Because most of these chapters are thoughts that link together. They just happen in different locations or different scenes.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I have no clue what actually happens next because the only note that I have is, and it's very funny, so I want to read it as I wrote it, was, damn, Edward just be listening to all the thoughts.
He does. I've got a few notes. Emmett and my love for Emmett bringing a snowball into school, like the dumb brute man that he is, so that he's like, it's cold in his palm. They're cold enough, it'll stay frozen.
Yeah, which
I love. And then I said, and we're back to telling us how every single member of the family feels about Edward at school, sitting in class next to Bella. And I find it wholeheartedly unnecessary.
Edward be listening to all the thoughts.
All the thoughts. It's so intrusive.
Because he's just trying to figure out what everybody thinks about him and Bella Swan.
Exhausting, though.
I know, but
it's got to be tiring.
Maybe that's why she did it specifically for this book, because we're annoyed by it, reading it.
Maybe he's annoyed by it. Yeah,
he's annoyed by it too. But he's like, Jasper disapproved nearly as much. Rosalie only worried about how it would affect her. Alice saw so many obscure futures. Esme thought this. Emmett thought that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Calm it down.
Too much. But they are still arguing about it because Jasper's like, why push it, dude? Like, what are you doing? You're going to force all of us to leave. I can barely control myself as it is. And you're telling me like, this is worse than anything you've ever dealt with and you've never had to like do it?
I also like that someone called out, like, well, Rosalie owes you anyway. And then it's like a callback to, like, you know, Rosalie murdering the whole town. Yeah. And clearly they had to leave because she did that in a wedding dress and made a fucking scene. But so it's like, okay, I mean, well, Rosalie does owe you.
It was the best scene. Can we be fair, though?
Right. Like, he also talks just like he's never been a human before. Like,
which I actually found.
I get that it was a long time ago since you were a human, but for you, to me, it got on my nerves in the way that sometimes when you are an adult and you talk about the way that children behave.
Yes.
And people like judge children about it. It's like, well, dude, you act like you were never a fucking child. Get over it. Well, they're different than we are.
I have a note about that when we learn this kind of later, but we can talk about it now, where it talks about how when you are turned, you are frozen in time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that is, your opinions are frozen, your thoughts are frozen, the way that you are as a person, your personality, everything is frozen. The only thing that changes that is love. Yeah. And it's almost like the vampires also have their own version of imprinting.
Yes.
And that is how they explain Edward's obsession with Bella, because it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Outside of how he explains the love each person found with Esme, like Carlisle and Esme and everybody.
It's like the only way they can move forward
is through love.
Through love.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily have a choice over who they love. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so we're trying to say everyone imprints? Or is this how we're trying to gloss over everything?
Because she's still a child, yo.
Yeah.
Another thing that popped up in this chapter was we found the meadow first. So Edward knows this place well, which we already knew. Mm-hmm. And I like that, like, you know, this is the place he was visiting to clear his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taking Bella there.
It is his own personal, like, it's very intimate, him taking her there. Mm-hmm. Not just in the way that we previously thought, but, you know, we, like, if you have a favorite place or a favorite album and you share that with the person you love, then it becomes something very special and intimate in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. In this chapter, it's pro-phase time, guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's way more interesting from his point of view than it was from hers.
I agree.
Way more.
Because she's a little bit more like, he still hates me. And I just love how clueless Edward is as like, and it's like what you said, like, because he's a child. But again, it's because they're frozen in time and he is still 17 mentally. Yeah. He might have all this book knowledge, but like life experience is none. Zero. And so that's what she kind of brings into his life. And I kind of love that. I also didn't know. So we all know that the vampires don't have to breathe, right? They pretend to breathe in order to like look human. But something new is that he says they have to breathe to speak. Mm-hmm. So I was like,
I had assumed that in Breaking Dawn, because there were things that didn't make sense to me in Breaking Dawn. Mm-hmm. I think it happened with Charlie Visited, where Bella was saying that she took in a deep breath and she didn't necessarily need to breathe, but then she couldn't speak later because she had run out of air.
Yeah.
So that was an assumption that I had made from Breaking Dawn.
But it was
explained in this book.
Yeah, and I thought that was just like an interesting little tidbit, little nugget of her Twilight lore. Because, you know, she kind of has her own thing going on.
She's got her own thing.
After school, we get that scene, I agree with you, it's way better from his perspective. He's talking with his family, and Emmett tells his Siren Song story. Which we got a little bit of it in Twilight before. Yeah. I don't remember which book. But he did talk about how he had a siren song and he just like murdered her. And so, but now
just
we actually murked her out of nowhere. And so we now at least get more of that story. And it turned like everyone has seemed to have had that person and everyone else has killed that person.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh,
we learned like the thirst is real.
Yeah.
The thirst is real. And also, Edward cops to being the seventh wheel in this book.
Yes, he does. I'm so upset by it.
Listen, I called it. I was right. Yeah. We're just going to put that moment in history. He cops to it and he's literally so bitter about it.
He's so bitter about it. And I love that. And let me see what I have here. I was like, oh, I love that Emmett tries to convince Edward just to murder Bella because just get it over with and it'll be better and it'll be just tasty, you know, whatever. Yeah.
I also like that we learned about like the venom flowing into their mouth. It's kind of like salivating.
Yeah. Like salivating venom. Like you're like,
yeah. Like, it's she really, like, I want to kill her. I need to kill her.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hungry.
I think Stephenie Meyer did a really good job of describing of describing what like he's going through and how he feels. And also, what is Edward's violent music? Because after he goes to sit in PE and he's like listening to Mike Newton's like thoughts and he gets really angry and he's got to listen to his CD of violent music.
A quote unquote spoiler that I read is that I'm pretty sure they do name check Linkin Park in this book at some point.
Okay.
They haven't yet.
I mean, that is good angry music.
It is good angry music. So it's possible it could be I mean, they haven't name checked them yet from what we've read, but it could be Linkin Park. Who knows? Because Bella does say in the first book that they have the same CD of like angry music.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Tool.
Chiodos.
Yeah, Chiodos, Tool. Like, what's angry? Like, what are we, Sing the Sorrow by AFI? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What gets him in that mood?
Like, the STP Core album was like my jam.
Right? Are we getting into like Fugazi? Like, what's his jam?
Exactly.
There could be a lot of answers to this. Maybe it's NWA. Like,
you never know. She never says.
Right?
Yeah, but that's how chapter 2 ends.
I want to imagine Edward Cullen listening to NWA in his angry mood, just sitting in his car. Fuck the police, fuck the police.
And he's just like censoring himself the whole time.
Because he's an old school man.
Yeah. That's how chapter 2 ends, is him sitting there listening to his violent music, listening to Mike Newton's thoughts about Bella and getting upset about them. And then we jump into chapter 3, which gives us a little insight in with the combo with like Edward and Carlisle, as well as Alice's vision into Edward's different versions of like him getting squished by the truck and stuff. Like this chapter had a lot.
This chapter did have a lot.
But Alice also says that I can't see things and your visions are blurry because you're at a crossroads.
Right? So I loved that so much because she says like you're at a crossroads, and in my head I was like, this sounds like a fucking tarot reader. Yeah. And immediately the next line he was like, you sound like a fortune teller at a carnival.
But basically,
so mad.
Like that's what it is when you like level up spiritually.
Yeah,
you know, like are things annoying you? Like are you frustrated? Are you depressed? Like
can you not make a decision? Do you not know what your future looks like? Like that's all those things when you
that's a crossroads.
are at that
that's
crossroads.
Like a leveling up spiritually.
Yes, and he's there. Baby boy is at the cusp, and he just needs to accept it.
Yeah, he has to make a choice, and he's refusing to make the choice because, like, at the other end of Alice's vision of her living, she sees her as a vampire, and he's like, I don't want that for her. And that's his biggest.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's in this chapter, but I love Alice in this part of the book where she's like, I see that I'm friends with her and I want to be friends with her.
And don't fuck that up for me.
Don't ruin it for me. Which if you,
we're like good friends.
But if you so really think about it though, it's precious, but it's also very emotional because how many friends does Alice have?
None.
She has Jasper,
her family.
She has her siblings.
Yeah.
Which like, and her and Rosalie are not close as sisters. Her and Emmett are not close as brother and sister. She's got Jasper and Edward basically.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So like the idea of having another person to confide in and be close to, like I get it, Alice. Like you want to be close with somebody who isn't a boy.
Exactly. And you don't want your brother to ruin it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I said this already. Sorry. I was like, my notes. We talked about this. With Carlisle also had the scent and like murdered his person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that Stephenie Meyer should have just written the word fuck.
Several times.
Oh my God. I wrote that. Afraid to cuss.
Yeah.
God like, damn. A word say fuck.
Get over it.
A word I'd never said before in the presence of a lady slid between my clenched teeth.
Just say fuck.
We're all grown now.
Sorry, let me back up because I jumped ahead a little bit. This is, so the van happens.
But okay, so going backwards though, he should have just said it because we're all grown now.
Exactly.
And Stephenie knows that. And this is something that I meant to mention at the beginning. I didn't take a note about it. But, and we're very critical of Stephenie. I am a human is very critical of her.
I know.
I probably am not going to be able to meet her.
Love to interview her. But
right, I would love to, but I feel like she probably wouldn't do it because we're so critical of her.
I know.
But the author's note in the dedication was so beautiful in this book.
Oh, read it.
Oh, so it says, this book is dedicated to all the readers who have been such a happy part of my life for the last 15 years. When we first met, many of you were young teenagers with bright, beautiful eyes full of dreams for the future. I hope that in the years that have passed, you've all found your dreams and that the reality of them was even better than you'd hoped.
Oh, I love that.
Right? It was so, I didn't shed an actual tear, but I did get emotional when I read it because, you know, she's right.
She's right.
When I
yeah.
first read Twilight, I was a senior in high school / freshman in college, and I am now a grown woman with a grown job and a grown second job.
Yeah,
all
right.
those things.
As we said, we can all afford the books, the concerts, the merch, and the audio.
Exactly. I bought this book 3 different ways because I can afford it.
Because I can. Like, I thought that was very beautiful that this book was dedicated to the fans that have been with her for a very long time.
For like over a decade.
Yeah, and I mean, that being said, we're all grown now, Steph. We can handle the fuck word.
I know. So
give me the fuck word.
I jumped ahead a little bit. Let's pop back. We get the van scene, which is integral to the story of Twilight.
Yes.
Because it's the first moment Edward chooses to save her and show her his powers, really.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue.
It's very interesting because they go back to school and they're kind of just, they're not necessarily hanging out, but like it's not a special morning.
No.
And
just cold
Edward
and icy.
is reading Alice's mind. And so he sees what she sees, which is this van accident happening multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And basically every way that she sees it about to go down is very bad for the Cullen family.
Yep.
And so Edward just steps in. He just steps in because every vision that Alice is having ends with Bella's blood spilled all over the parking lot. And Edward is like, that cannot happen. If it happens, I will lose my shit.
Are you kidding? All of them would. There's no like Jasper. Can you imagine? It would end up being Jasper and Edward sitting there over Bella's carcass, just eating her alive. Yeah. And everyone in the town screaming, and then wolves. And then, you know, like it would just become a huge clusterfuck.
So Edward is like, this cannot happen.
And like the family doesn't get that he also did it for them. So like, it's like, you can't see the forest through the trees on that.
But also first decision. Yeah. Alice only saw things one way.
Yeah.
And he was like, his determination to change her vision from the first time he learns of it in that car ride is what creates this story we're reading.
Oh, yeah. But that's one of the, I love things that involve forecasting or time travel.
Yeah.
Like I'm obsessed with time travel stories because it all hinges on a personal decision, and that can create so many alternate futures that you never thought of before. And just in this instance where every version of the car accident that she sees ends with blood on the ground.
Yep.
Because Edward hasn't yet made the decision to intervene.
Right.
However, when Edward sees those futures, he realizes, I gotta step in.
Yes.
I gotta do something. I gotta keep this girl from spilling all of her blood across this pavement.
Because it's not good for anyone of us.
It's not good for anybody.
I'd also really like that we got this through Edward, because man, this was way worse than it ever seemed from Bella's perspective.
Right, from Bella's perspective, it just seemed kind of like the car skidded to a stop and everybody was overreacting.
Right, but no,
from Edward's perspective, you realize she literally would have died.
Yeah, in multiple ways. He was like fighting this car from killing her.
Yeah, it was like popping at her. He was lifting the van up with one hand and trying to move her out of the way. I was like, whoa.
You guys are right, but just the idea of him fighting a car was hilarious to me. I'm sorry.
Because it kept moving.
He was doing the Batman to a car.
And it wasn't like the movie just showed like the one hand hit, right? And that's what Bella's vision was too, from her side. It was just like a hand hit, stopped the van, whatever. I had no idea. And I love this.
The showed us what Bella's human brain could process.
Yeah. Right.
Not all the moves Edward make to make sure this girl lived, okay?
Yeah, it's like it's going to crush her car.
He's got to hold her head. So he's like, girl, you bumped your head. You don't know what you saw.
Yeah, you fine.
Which, like, on the one hand, I'm annoyed because he definitely did gaslight her, but on the other hand, you bumped your head. You didn't see.
Yeah, you didn't see. I also kind of love, like, the image of Edward using his foot to buff out the handprint from the van while, like, talking to her. Yeah. Like, you don't see it. It's like magic, right? Yeah, right? He's like, here's the sparkly thing here, but my foot is doing something else.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so fun.
Right?
I was like, what? The idea of that. I was like, what?
And so then they get to the hospital, and so this is something that was never referenced in the first 4 books of this saga. And it kind of annoys me now that we know this, because I have more questions and I want to know why it never came up in conversation.
Yes.
Edward cannot directly hear Charlie's thoughts.
I love this this annoyed
she got it from Charlie. I loved it.
No, it annoyed me from the standpoint of how come this never came up in conversations? You never mentioned to tell me that you couldn't
Charlie was a slow man. You know?
Yeah, all this just never thought to tell me that you couldn't actually hear my father's thoughts. You fucking a-hole.
Need to know. Need to know.
But also, but that's why I was kind of like, I feel like that would have come up in conversation before, that he would have said, well, I can't hear you, Bella, but also it makes sense because I can barely hear your father. I get more feelings and tones, not sentences.
I mean, I hear you, but like, if you think of their tumultuous love story, when would that conversation have happened?
I don't know, when I hanging out in bed.
Also, I mean, in that conversation.
Do anything in bed?
I don't know. They have the whole like conversation where they have to, tell Charlie that they're engaged, right? So I feel like he would have been like, well, your dad wanted to kill me, and I know because his thoughts turned really angry, not because I heard him say he wanted to kill me,
right? I mean, they also what Stephenie Meyer does a lot in the original Twilight Saga is they have conversations off screen, right? Off chapter.
So it's one of the things that could happen off screen, but also it just made me it annoyed me, but it made me very curious as well, because I'm like, is Charlie also a shield? What would happen if they turned Charlie? I need to know.
I need to know. That's the exact note I had written. I was like, is this foreshadowing? Is Charlie some type of a shield?
I told you guys it'd be so great if they turned Charlie.
That's the book that I really want in the future. Listen, I don't want Charlie. Your Jacob Renesmee book.
I love Charlie. Let her have him
Charlie
forever.
Mountain.
I want the book where they decide to turn Charlie because he's getting a little bit older. His health is starting to fail.
We're on a bridge, Charlie.
Bella's just too... Listen, Charlie's getting older. His health is starting to fail. Bella's going to be too upset without him, so they just decide to turn Charlie.
And they go to Candy Mountain.
It could have like I'm just thinking like more like a Weekend at Bernie's vibe.
Tell me what sweet buttery goodness.
Turn Charlie 2020.
Anyway, so that's like the fun nugget that we get at the end of chapter 3.
Yeah. Also, Carlisle's joke to himself.
Oh my God.
Carlisle is looking at Bella's x-ray, and he says something along the lines of like, look at all the contusions. How many times did her mother drop her? And he like laughs to himself.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, Carlisle, the unsung hero.
Oh God.
Give me his book.
Right? I need a Carlisle book. I need a Carlisle series.
Chapter 4 is just full of Edward realizing he's a stalker and basically Joe from You.
But also, Bella is so much more intriguing from Edward's point of view.
She is.
Which I feel like...
It works, though.
It works because on the one hand, Bella comes off as very much a self-insert character. Where any reader could read that and say, oh, I'm Bella. Which
I felt that way.
That's why I loved it when I was a teenager, because you don't know anything about her, so you can just put yourself in there, and you don't know what CDs she listens to. Like, all you know is that she wears a khaki skirt and she's playing. So I was like, whatever, that's me.
But isn't that like how, like, when you're younger, you kind of look at yourself, right? You're super self-deprecating, and you're like, there's nothing special about me.
And Edward is too, and that's what I love about him. But I had a side note highlighted from this chapter about Carlisle's office. And as an art fan, I loved that he had an original, like, Frederick Hassam fucking, like, painting on his wall, and no one knew. Like, you know, because he probably was best friends with the guy. And
they probably hung out and, like, drank
everyone
wine
assumes it's just a replica or something because you don't think that this guy would just have an original in his office.
I know, but that's pretty sick.
But that's, so that's the one, like, on the one hand, she's a self-insert. On the other hand, we were all teenagers and we all know how badly we talk down about ourselves.
100%.
And so that to me was very believable now reading it from Edward's point of view, that she is a very beautiful, special person, but we're reading the books from her point of view, so she's just talking down about herself.
Yeah, and like it's like, you know, when you're dating someone, they're like, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, and you're like, whatever. But you're seeing that through that person's eyes finally.
I mean, it's...
And you hear that, like, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. You
Even
know,
at 32, we had this conversation before the camera started rolling where I was like, oh, girl, I look like shit today. And you were all like, no, you don't.
I was like, girl, your titties look great.
Titties.
GCFO. Yeah, you know, we're clever. I like that Jasper is also planning on killing Bella.
That was my next note.
Yeah.
Jasper's
He's like, nah, this is it. So she did.
Anybody got time for that?
Ain't nobody got time for this. I got to do it.
Yeah,
it's a calculatable risk, and she got to go.
Yeah, and I like that they have this like sit down family meeting at the kitchen table.
He's like stone about it. Like there's no wavering. He's thought of multiple ways to do it. His mind is made up.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not playing these games with you. This is dangerous for our family, and if you don't have the balls to do it, then I'll do it.
And I also really liked in this chapter, I didn't understand why Rosalie was so like, we can't leave in the chapters prior to it until we get to the sit down dinner meeting. And her whole reason is that it's just so easy to pretend in Forks. There's no sun. Yes. It's so easy for them to have a quote unquote normal human life, that she's very tied to this place because of that reason. And so she doesn't want anything that jeopardizes that.
Yeah. Yep. I can shop, I can eat out, I can go places. Like, even if I don't want to, I get to be my regular prissy self. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to like retract?
And she misses being a human so much. So it makes sense that she would be very emotionally connected to this place.
Yeah. And Edward's like, I'm going to leave. And the whole family's like, no, you are not going to leave. That doesn't make sense.
One or all.
And Rosalie's like, look, I now volunteer as tribute. Yeah. And I love the snide remark that she gets from Edward where he's like, yes, Rosalie, we all know how proficient an assassin you are.
And I was like, burn.
I'm sorry. But she is. Was that supposed to be a jab? Because all I heard was truth. Mm-hmm. And I just really enjoyed that.
But no, Rosalie, every life is precious. Like that pro-life shit though.
And I kind of feel bad because also like Jasper throws Edward's seventh wheel life in his face while making this argument to kill Bella.
It's so mean.
And I was like, that's rude.
I wrote that down too. He's like, you don't feel that way about anyone on page 81. And he's,
You're single. You don't understand. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, because he's like talking about Alice. He's like, look. And he's like, this is how I feel about her. You don't know what that's like. And I'm just like, that's mean. That's so mean. It's not like it's his choice. He hasn't chosen. He's been they've tried to set him up with Rosalie, with Tanya. And he's just like, meh.
So this is the part that, and we mentioned this earlier, this is where it comes up, and this is what changes everyone's
adorable little
minds.
Alice.
This is what changes everyone's mind. And it does come as a surprise. Not only does Alice see her becoming friends with Bella, she sees Bella becoming a vampire. So Alice is known from book 1, which is something that we as readers don't know.
Well, we kind of did because she's like, I've seen it. She's always said, I've seen it. But we've never fully known what that was.
When she had this vision.
Yeah.
So listen, all the way up at the very beginning, before they even like really spoke to each other, Alice is like, listen, this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I saw.
Your girl's coming. Don't worry. I saw Jasper 28 years before, girl. I already had the ring picked out.
Don't worry.
She's like, look, see, she's not going to say anything. So we're safe and don't have to go anywhere. And I'm just like...
But I love how that just like ends the family dinner, which I mean, really, if you had a psychic in the family, I'm pretty sure that all family meetings would end that way.
Exactly. It's like, well, we have no reason not to believe her.
Right? Why are we arguing about it? This bitch is a psychic.
And Edward could hear it, so he knows she's not lying. And it just confirms it. And so she's like, Jasper, she's off limits. She's going to be my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Edward is also so disgusted with himself by this point in the day. Which, like, I'm like, dude, I shit on myself, but like, he is mad at himself.
He really is.
And
I feel like I'm hard on myself, and I've had multiple people, like loved ones, tell me, you hold yourself to too high of a standard. You're so mad at yourself all the time. It is nothing compared to Edward Cullen.
Not one bit.
I also love, like, Rosalie also throws back a snide comment, too. She's like, oh, so Edward's going to fall in love with a human? Ugh, how classic Edward. You know what I mean?
It's just like the worst.
The worst. And the best.
There were moments reading this where I assumed that we'd get to see another side of Rosalie in this book, and it would make her more tolerable. We're not. She's still.
But I kind of love it though, because it's like the perfect little like jabs at people. You know
what to expect. She is who she is,
and also like she is so vapid. Yeah. That we were able to get her perspective through Bella. Like we already knew who she was, and Edward added. Like confirmed, that's exactly.
Like every friend group has a Rosalie where you're like this bitch, but you love her anyway.
Exactly. And
every
that's how
time
I feel
there's
about
something reflective, they're looking at themselves, and you're like, hello.
Every story is about them.
I know
this bitch.
I know. And then Carlisle kind of sums up the entire chapter and really the entire story up to this point with his final line where he's like, well, this complicates things.
You know, in my head, what happened after you said that? It was the music from not It's Always Sunny. What's the one? Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh,
bum, like, bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, it's like, all right. So good. So good. Chapter 5. I am really happy to know that Edward feels exactly the same way about Mike Newton that we all do.
We all hate Mike Newton and we all hate high school, and Edward is right there with us.
He's like, yes, thank you very much. And I love, like, Edward is also tormenting himself. If you remember, like, post the van trauma, all Bella did was like, I don't know why he doesn't like me. He saved me. Why won't he talk to me? And Edward's like, I don't know if I should talk to her. She probably doesn't want to talk to me. Like, they're having the same
conversation, but just two different
separately. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's hilarious.
It's very much like dating in high school.
Yeah.
It's very much.
I mean, is it really that much different than dating
But
now?
also, like,
oh no.
So,
from dating as a
I was like, this is also so human, because you're like, I'm not going to tell him I like him. He's not going to tell me he likes me. And then you find one person finally gets the courage, and you're like, oh my God.
I've been waiting for you to say this for 17 months.
I know. Yeah. God, this has taken years.
I just need to read this because, like, the Mike Newton drag from this chapter is so good. He's like, who would have ever dreamed that such a generic, boring mortal could be so infuriating? He'd created a Bella in his head who didn't exist, a girl just as generic as he was. I was like, oh,
right. The burn was so great, but again, I love seeing Bella from Edward's perspective because you find out he has like a list of her qualities that he loves, and he's like, she's kind, she's funny, she's brave, she's all these different things. Which
Eric brings up Comic-Con, and then he realizes, and for a second I was excited because I was like, "Yeah, me too, Bella. I love Comic-Con." Right? And then he's like, "I realized that she only did it so
people would not make fun of him."
It was a cool callback because Comic-Con was such a big deal to the Twilight series. So I love that she's now that Stephenie Meyer found a way to bring this full circle and mention Comic-Con in the books.
Yeah.
Very cute. Can you imagine if we had a Comic-Con 2020 and we could have gone to a Midnight Sun panel?
Girl, that would have been so
my God.
My heart.
I would have slept outside. No, I wouldn't have, but I would have wanted to.
I would have wanted to. I would have tried to get a press pass.
Yeah, exactly. A press pass, or maybe
industry
like
pass.
befriend like some nerd in the front and be like, "I'm gonna go get food."
I'm 35. Yeah, I don't need to be outside. I'm too old for that. My bones don't like it.
I also love that since Edward is now actually listening to everyone in the school, his opinion about high school is changing, and he's so invested in all the petty drama, and he's just like, like he's watching a reality show, and he's like, "This is amazing. Oh, that's happening. Oh, who's gonna ask?" Because this chapter also goes into the Sadie Hawkins dance, right?
Yes.
So he's just like, "Oh, he gonna ask her. Oh, he's gonna ask her.
Oh, he's gonna ask her.
Well, let me give Tyler a shot." And he's
let me
just
get in the way. I love this.
I'm just like, it's like, when you date someone and you're filling your boyfriend in on like all the terrible things from work, and he's like, "Oh, what about that bitch?" And you're like, "This is what happened today."
Edward goes full on Marie Kondo this chapter, and he's like, "I love mess."
Oh, so good.
Also, I loved this chapter from Edward's point of view because you get it from Bella's point of view when they're in biology class again and they're talking.
Yeah.
And the teacher asks him a question and Edward just throws out the right answer. So in my feeble human mind, it just reminded me of being a student in high school.
Yeah.
And I was notorious for talking while the teacher was talking. And they'd call on me and I'd have the right answer. And they'd be like, "Well, how do you know?"
Yeah.
But it's because I can talk and listen at the same time, which a
lot of people... Girl, I got kicked out of class constantly for that. A lot of people can't.
And one teacher called me out and they were like, "There's no way you can talk and listen at the same time." And I'm like, "But I can. I heard everything you were just saying. Here's the answer." So I assumed that's what Edward was doing from my feeble human mind, whereas like Edward could just read minds. So he read the biology teacher's mind and was like, "Oh, the answer is a Krebs cycle."
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, I love how exasperated Bella is when Edward starts to talk to her again." And like from we got it a little bit from her, but hers was a little bit more nervous and like unsure, and he reads it as like, "She hates me."
Yeah.
And she's just like, "Okay, so then why do you want to talk to me then if you don't hate me?" And he's so confused by her actions, and he's like, "Obviously she regrets me saving her." And you're like, "What?"
And then but on the same token, she's like, "I know you hated saving my life, so let it go."
I know, same thoughts, just didn't share them with each other. And also, I just think that's so amazing.
Something with a meteorite, because all I wrote down was Edward is an idiot/meteorite. So I don't know what that means, but whatever.
We also learned that Edward hasn't felt jealousy before in his life until this chapter.
I loved that whole like page and a half or whatever it was for him to figure out what jealousy was.
Yeah. I wanted to punch his skull in. I wanted to backhand him against the wall. And then it goes to, I realized I was jealous.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, you've never been jealous?
Maybe he just hasn't experienced jealousy since he's become a vampire.
Yeah.
Because they say, it's possible that he experienced it as a human because they say that your human memories
dissipate,
and your feelings fade. So he probably had as a human.
That's possible.
And then 100 years later, he's like, "Oh, what? I don't know.
I'm a billionaire. What do I have to be jealous about?"
I don't know her.
I don't know. I love the way that Edward describes every boy that could possibly be interested in Bella in the same way that I describe every girl that could possibly be interested in guys I have a crush on.
Same though.
You know what I mean?
So true.
Like, but is that a real guy thing?
Trash.
Or is that just because a woman wrote this? Ernie, chime in. So he's just like,
all right.
He's like, what if this gangly teen with his unhealthy skin was somehow pleasing to her? And I was like, damn. And he's like, I measured Tyler Crowley as competition, knowing it's reprehensible. He seemed tediously average and unremarkable, but that could be her profile.
I wrote that down to tediously average and unremarkable.
Average. That's such a good sentence.
It really is. But I was like, damn, is that what guys do too? Because that's what I do. I'm like, that bitch isn't even pretty. And like you have your moment and you just get real mad. And I was like, that's how I do it.
And then sometimes you go back later and you're like, damn, I was just being a hater because I liked her man. She actually is dope.
But Edward's like over here like, have you seen me though? I'm a snack.
I know.
And it's like, but
have you seen me though?
Yeah, I love it.
So good.
Okay, after all that fun, this chapter goes into one of the most controversial moments of the entire series is when Edward breaks into Bella's room, which I do have a big issue with, but I do appreciate that she wrote that he also has an issue with it, but Stephenie Meyer, that doesn't make it better.
He's a peeping Tom.
He even says that. He's like, I'm not better than your average peeping Tom. And I understand, like, thank you for knowing that, but it doesn't make it better.
Like, as big of a problem until he sat in the rocking chair.
Oh, God, so creepy.
And then I was done.
Right.
I was done.
I just
when he was just, like, standing outside, I was fine.
When I thought
he opened the window, okay.
Just, like,
when he sat in the chair.
Okay, but this is what I thought. I thought, even from reading Twilight and all the, you know, like, reading Twilight and coming into this book, I just assumed that he had opened the window and his head was in the window and he's just like, just peeking. Like, I thought he spent all his time peeking. I didn't know that he was in the room.
And in the bedroom.
It was bad enough to me when I thought that he just opened the window and he was peeking. But now that I know that he was in the room, I'm like, bruh.
Yeah.
I always imagined, like, you know, like how people have like big bay windows or like long floor to ceiling windows and they open. He was kind of just like, I opened it and like I sat in the frame of it.
Yeah, I
could jump down and she could be like, oh, it's just the window, you know? Not he came into her room and sat in her fucking rocking chair and then flashed out the window when she thought someone was sitting in if I saw a shadow in my rocking chair, even though he probably moves like faster than the
it's
speed
like a
of
paralysis demon.
Like,
that's what I was
exactly, paralysis demon. I'd be like, get that fucking rocking chair out of my room, Dad.
Like, Edward, this crosses some lines and I am not okay with it. Okay. This is not okay. And I understand you understand that you're not okay, but you're still doing it. And he's like justifying it as like, but she could be hurt.
But
she could fall down the stairs.
That's what my note was with the meteorite. Edward's an idiot because he like anxiety spirals, which like as somebody who lives with anxiety, I get it. That's just a part of life. It's what we do. But like, he's a vampire. He should be above all this. Well, I don't understand why he is so caught up with like a spider could bite her and kill her. A meteorite could crash into her window. Like, I'm going to need you to use your vampire senses and be a little bit more grown than this, Edward.
I know.
But also so sad to think that if I became a vampire, my anxiety
wouldn't go away.
Oh my God.
Like, God, can you not really live?
Terrible.
Even Jen?
Yeah, this is the chapter that we get that little bit of vampire lore that in Stephenie's world that I brought up earlier, where they are frozen in time until love happens, right? Mm-hmm. So in a way, and this is not an excuse because it's awful, this is Edward's way of catching up, right? He's has been mentally 17 for 100+ years. He starts falling in love with this girl and the weird vampire imprinting that they do that we've just learned about now because of it. And so now he's going from 17 to kind of 107 within a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
very true.
So he's going through that weird stalker thing. I'm like, look, I showed up at the boy I thought was cute when he at his job, like in the mall. But I didn't go to his house.
I didn't go to his house.
I called him on the phone and asked for him.
I didn't sit in the rocking chair.
You know what I mean? Like I called the numbers in the phone book with my girlfriends until we got the right one.
But
you know, that's like you're
get
crazy
someone to
and
pass a note that be like, do you like me? Check yes or no. That's what I
was
did.
like, whoa.
Right? Yeah.
And I hope my girlfriends
I sent it from MySpace
listen to
for a boy,
this and hear that and remember those moments.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did
we
that.
We also get our Midnight Sun mention in this chapter.
Yes, we do. He said it.
He said it.
Yes.
Do you guys do that? If you go see a movie and they say the title of the movie, do you clap when they say it?
I don't think so. We try. I see movies with Sarah all the time, and we're both like movie whisperers.
We're
horrible. We try to stay away from
sneak
people.
food in and I whisper. So I
try to food in, girl.
I try to go into off-time showings.
I'm bringing Del Taco.
Yeah, right.
Don't at me.
I try to go to showings that are off time so people won't yell at me. Like, I try not to go like at prime time movie watching so people won't get mad because I have Del Taco and I'm whispering through the whole movie. But it's a thing. I caught it on an episode of Jeopardy once where if they say the title of the movie, then you
get
clap.
excited.
So I do that now.
That's cute.
That's actually really cute.
I love it. One of my favorite experiences doing that was in the Fellowship of the Ring when they were like, we shall call it the Fellowship of the Ring.
I love it. Oh, I was going to say, towards the end of this, him leaving her house, he's like, loving her would not keep me from killing her, but the monster is being silenced. So him being around her and accepting these things is making him think he can be around her. And then, jump ahead and he's like, hey, you've been avoiding all these boys saying you're going to Seattle. So you want to go together?
One more thing. He said, strange but unfamiliar reactions stirred deep in my forgotten human core.
Wait, what?
What page are you on?
I'm on page
that I love.
120. And it was like right after she talked in her sleep. And then he was like...
and she said Edward.
Yeah.
Right? She says his name. And he's like, ugh. Basically. Anyway, so Edward skips away like a giddy little schoolgirl when she's like, yes, I'll go with you to Seattle.
Well, I wrote down on page 134, which I love this little part where he says, I didn't know how to do this. How to court as a normal human modern man in the year 2005. The best sentence that we've gotten so far.
It is pretty good.
Because it is very much Edward and it's very much like his reaction to this, but it's so, I don't know, it's just funny. And it's very much like, no, you don't, bro. You are messing this all the way up. Yeah. You have no idea how to quote unquote court in the year 2005.
No, you do not, sir. But he figures it out.
And chapter 6, we get to my favorite scene in the book that never happened in a movie.
Oh, which scene is that?
The hunting?
Blood type.
Oh, I didn't really care for any of this. Like the chat in the cafeteria and the DNA thing, I thought was too close. And I just I honestly read it as fast as I could because I didn't find it interesting at all.
Honestly, none of this mattered to me until we get to him going hunting with Emmett.
Oh my God, I loved blood type.
Oh, because really? Well, then you talk about it. Let's go.
Tell us.
Well, guys.
Tell us why it's good.
So, Edward in his head is like so coded about the way he feels. And of course, clearly he had to miss blood typing because he's a vampire.
Duh. Yeah.
So he's like out in his car just listening to all these things happening. Like Bella's like, he tells Bella like at lunch, I'm not going to see you in class because, like I got shit to do. But really, he's like an earshot away listening to everything that's happening. He pounces across campus because he figures out that she fainted. We discover that Bella can smell blood as a human being, which
we knew that from Twilight. That's not new.
I'm just saying.
Oh.
And but it's new information for Edward.
For Edward.
And Edward's like, whoa, what
But the thing is, I think it's weird that he thinks it's weird because blood has a very distinct smell.
It does.
And he has so many like internal think
about how many
monologues in his
that
head, like
Edward
please leave, save yourself, like all those things just made me like love this scene even more. And I was like, damn, I deserve this in the movie.
I thought it was all exactly the
and
same.
Like Mike Newton being
new.
like so jealous. Like, could you imagine him just like lifting Bella out of his arms like she was like a dainty little flower? Like she weighed like 1 penny, and he was like, bye.
To your point, Sarah,
ran her to the
blood does have a very distinct smell. But to Edward's point, how many oblivious humans has he met in the last 117 years?
Well, he hasn't had a conversation with anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's true. So he wouldn't find anything shocking.
So, shocking. I was like, but plenty of us know what
he
blood
would be like,
smells like.
Humans laugh. That's shocking.
Whoa, they have personalities.
They know what humor is?
He's literally at school not listening to any conversations when he could be like living his best writing life.
So, exactly. He could be doing so much more. But yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed those scenes.
Because
I did not.
They were whatevs. We seen it.
But I did love when we got more insight into like the Esme Carlisle love story and Rosalie and Emmett, because I've been wondering about those things too.
I loved seeing Edward or reading Edward compose the lullaby and Esme standing next to him.
Oh, that's chapter
and
7.
Alice helping him.
That's the next chapter.
Sorry, y'all.
It's okay.
I
that
don't
happens.
Break my notes down by chapter.
I only did for this one specifically just because I wanted to try something new. And it might be terrible. I don't know, but I just did that.
Okay.
I like the Esme and who did I say? Sorry, that they're more they're very love at first sight in the way that Bella is love at first sight for him.
Yes.
Like basically, like I didn't we always guessed that Rosalie and Emmett, that it was literally like her seeing this man fight a bear and she's like, damn, I love him. And then he died and she's like, change him. That's exactly what happened.
He fought a bear.
It wasn't really like anything. And then the fact that Esme knew Carlisle when she was younger, and he's always just kind of been around. And then, you know, she grew up, she got married, her children died, and she went to kill herself. And he was like, no.
And he's like
very
the one
interesting.
nice memory she's had of a man in her life. Like, that's a big deal.
I thought that was amazing and
shocking. Yeah, I thought that was a fun, interesting tidbit that we got about them that we've never had before. But then, you know, we all know how Alice and Jasper got together. That's nothing. That was nothing new.
Yeah.
Even through Edward's eyes, it was kind of the same. And then we get into chapter 7, where Edward learns and plays Bella's lullaby for the first time. He doesn't know where it's coming from. It's just his idea. It's how he feels when he thinks about her.
Car, and he just got home and had to put it on paper, y'all.
So beautiful.
And I kind of love that they're like, everyone's shocked, right? Like, Edward's playing the piano again. Like, I was like, I love, first of all, how they explain what everyone is doing when they get home from school. So, it's cute.
So, Edward has normally been going on these runs after he gets home from school.
He's got to run it out.
He just got to run it out, which, like, I feel like we've all been there when we've been in a complicated relationship. I'm like, I just got to go work out. I just got to not think about my feelings, think about my body instead.
Yep.
So he's been going for these runs, and he doesn't go for a run today. And Rosalie is mad, and she decides to go.
She's just watching TV.
First, she's just watching TV.
Channels.
And Emmett and Jasper play. And first of all, as a chess player, I am so intrigued by this.
Their chess game?
They're playing their own chess game that they've invented that has like multiple chess boards lined up next to each other, and they've made their own rules for it.
Crazy.
I am so intrigued.
That sounds so awesome.
Right?
Teach
me, Daddy. Alice is doing some stuff on the computer. Carla's at work. Esme is up in her office, like doing architecture, interior design.
Yeah.
And Rosalie's watching TV, and Edward goes to the piano, and everybody just kind of like stops, and you can hear their thoughts. And
they're just like, holy shit.
Esme is up in her office, and she's like, oh my God, Edward's composing a new song. This is a new song.
She sits on the banister.
He's composing again.
Joyously.
She leaves her office and goes to sit to watch him without being like too disruptive.
Yeah.
Alice starts coaching Jasper about the game and telling him what moves Emmett is going to make. And then Rosalie has started to reveal her feelings about why she doesn't like Bella, and she runs away.
I really hope we can all guess what they are.
Well, Edward knows.
He knows, but he's not saying yet.
Yeah, and she tells him, do not say anything. And he, to his credit, doesn't betray her confidence. Just lets it go.
Yeah. But also, Rosalie, you vapid bitch. Of course,
right, Rosalie, you bitch.
Yeah, it's because like he didn't want me.
Yeah.
And that's how he kind of describes it. Was like, she's always been vain. Yeah. And, you know, so like
she's always wanted to be the most special.
Her. She needs to be the most beautiful. She's always been the most beautiful. So like, I feel like her thought is like, oh, when she's a vampire, she's gonna be prettier than me. You know,
or why does she appeal to you so much? Are you really think this plain girl is so hot? You came home and wrote a song about her.
Which like,
oh my God.
Let me tell you, I have been vapid enough to have been in that position where I don't want you, but the fact that you want someone who isn't me is going to drive me bananas.
Yeah. I also think...
I don't want your body better. Stupid. I mean...
It's, for real though.
It is. Though.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. But how Edward describes this, he's like, Rosalie was mortally offended that I found some insignificant human girl more appealing than her. And Rosalie would do anything and give up anything if it meant she could be human again. Anything. Even Emmett.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
That's huge. But again, it backs up her position in Breaking Dawn, which I don't think anybody misunderstood.
Not at all.
We all get it, but it gives it more credence.
Yeah, it tripled down on it, really, more than anything. I know it doubled down, but I felt like this tripled down.
No, it tripled down on it. It's real hard.
For sure. And then I love that Emmett's like, so, like, can you even, like, touch her, bro? Like, if you love her, like, wouldn't you want to, like, touch her?
Emmett's my favorite.
Hasn't anybody ever told you not to play with your food?
I love that chapter. I love that part where it's like in italics, when it's like, don't you want to touch her?
Yeah.
Touch her?
Which, again, Stephenie Meyer, just listen, we're all adults now. Just say it.
Just let it happen.
F-bomb, let it happen.
Yeah. Let it happen. I mean, it made, like, with the van scene, it made perfect sense.
Right.
He's like, because it was heavy and it was hard.
Emmett could just say, don't you want to go to
That's what she said.
Don't you want to go to Downtown?
And this chapter, and it's our final chapter of the day, ends that Peter and Charlotte are coming to visit. If you don't know who Peter and Charlotte are, they are Jasper's friends from the time he was making newbie vampires. And Peter, I believe I remember right, is one of the newbie vampires that he created.
I believe so. They are briefly mentioned in both Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, but we don't get to know them.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to know them.
We're learning new.
To get to know them. And yeah.
I feel like we're going to get a new scene that wasn't available in Twilight. This is exciting.
Those are the things I'm so excited about. And I think she's done so far a really good a good job, minus, I know Keiki, you loved it, the DNA scene, of making the scenes we already know exciting and interesting to reread.
And I appreciate you for adding Emmett hunting a bear and fighting the bear, because how many times did we say Emmett died fighting a bear?
I know. They go hunting and have their little heart-to-heart, and Emmett's like, you want to touch her, bro? While he eats his bear.
Final thoughts. I do feel like this book has really laid the case for what I have said for years, that Twilight does need to be rebooted as a television show.
100%. I can see every scene.
And that's what I'm saying.
In a thing.
All of everything that we learn in Midnight Sun adds so much depth and clarity and just fun and enjoyment to the story. Yes. And I could really see this. It really cements the case that this should be told episodically, because you could say, well, I don't see how I could stretch it out to a whole TV series. But when you're getting things from the perspective of Edward, you're reading all these different things about the Cullen family, you're seeing all these hunting trips, that's when you really start to realize, no, this should be told in a longer format.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's my hill, and I'll die on it.
And also, we're writer Stephenie Meyer, so if you're listening to this, we can be consultants. Hit us up.
I could definitely consult for this. I got
definitely.
The time.
100%. If you want a 60 or a 30, I got you, girl.
I got the time, girl.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts, Keiki?
No, I'm excited.
Okay. Well, next week we're going to do chapters 8 through, what did we decide, 16?
I think 16. There's a really good sentence that breaks on 16. So I think we're 8 through 16.
We're going to end there. So until then, fork off.
Fork off.
If you want to know what the fork is up, head on over to our Streamer Links page at streamerlinks.com/smellslikeTeenAngst to follow all our personal social media and pages.